Welcome to Fusion Fiction with your host Madhulika Ra Chauhan, where every tale brings you closer to the heart of life itself. Today, we have a brand new story for you for this brand new season, Nayika. I hope you enjoy it. Sarika stood at the window of a family's flat in Bhavanipur, watching street lamps flicker to life as dusk settled over Calcutta. 3 weeks since her father's death, and the evening aarti continued unchanged. Her mother's soft voice chanting prayers, the small bell tinkling as it had every evening for as long as Sarika could remember. Only his deep baritone would never join again. Her fingers traced the ghungru on her dresser. 6 years since she had last danced. The thought of performance seemed impossible with grief weighing down her limbs like lead. Yet her old guru's words had returned unbidden. Each woman has the capacity to play all Nayikas. Radhika Amma's voice carried over the fading notes of the tabla. Her silver hair pulled into a severe bun, eyes sharp with intelligence. At 72, her hands still moved with fluid precision as she demonstrated the mudras. The Abhisarika Nayika steps beyond the boundaries society has drawn around her. The snakes represent not just physical danger, but social peril. When she crosses the threshold, she cannot return unchanged. Sarika had been 20 then, seated at the front of the class in the high ceilinged hall, following each moment with intense concentration. After the other students dispersed, she had remained. Why is Abhisarika always depicted surrounded by snakes? She represents something profound, Radhika Amma had said, adjusting her white cotton sari. A woman who steps beyond boundaries. There is urgency in her gait, fearlessness, determined recklessness towards dangers that cross her path. What could compel someone to take such a risk? All women have multitudes and layers. 7 years later, Sarika finally understood what she had missed. Abhisarika wasn't merely love-struck. She was a woman at the threshold of transformation, willing to risk everything for something only she could see. The sound of breaking glass from the next room interrupted her thoughts. Aditya, drowning his grief in their father's carefully hoarded scotch. Will you join us for dinner? Her mother called, her voice carefully neutral. Later, Ma. Sarika's eyes fell on a postcard propped against her mirror. I'm exhibiting at the Academy of Fine Arts next week. Arnob. Arnob Roy. The name opened a window into another life. They had met at Presidency College. He studying fine arts, she literature. For 2 years, they had existed in the space between friendship and something deeper. Until his Paris scholarship coincided with her father's first heart attack. The choice was made without discussion. Arnob left and Sarika stayed. Your dance speaks of something new, he had told her once by the Hugli's Ghats. Something that honors tradition while breaking free from it. The exhibition would open tomorrow evening. The final morning ritual was the same night. At 3 a.m., Sarika rose from her sleepless bed. The marble floor felt cool against her bare feet as she moved towards her father's study. His desk stood untouched. Papers stacked, fountain pen parallel to the edge, reading glasses folded. Above hung a photograph from her debut performance, her father's hand on her shoulder, beaming with pride. You dance the steps perfectly, but something is missing, he had said afterwards. Her father, for all his orthodox ways, understood desire as a force that shaped lives as surely as duty did. She withdrew the brass key to the front door. Standing at the threshold, she thought of her mother, the perfect Bengali housemaker whose art was not limited to Alpana designs. Her brother, brilliant but drowning. And Arnab, not as escape, but as a different path her father might have understood. You remind me of the monsoon wind, her father had once said. Restless, yes, but always moving towards something. Is that good, Baba? The wind brings change. Change is neither good nor bad. It simply is. But sometimes the wind forgets the ones waiting for it to return. She turned the key and stepped into the humid Calcutta night. Sarika moved through the familiar streets made strange by moonlight, past a college, past the old coffee house where Arnab had stretched her hands as she explained mudras, his eyes moving from her fingers to her face with frightening intensity. The colonial buildings in his neighborhood had been repurposed into artists' studios. She climbed the worn marble stairs, hearing Vilayat Khan's sitar floating down. Her steps slowed. What was she doing here? The music stopped. Footsteps approached, though she hadn't knocked. Arnab stood at the door, paintbrush in hand, eyes widening. Sarika? He was thinner, but unchanged, intense, searching, seeing too much. 7 years collapsed in an instant. I heard about your father. He was a good man. She nodded, unable to speak. Come in. You shouldn't be in the corridor at this hour. His apartment was sparse, but warm. Canvases against walls, books stacked everywhere, incense and turpentine in the air. In the center stood his current work, a woman moving through a stylized forest, her sari flowing like water, the forest both threatening and seductive. Abhi Sarika? Sarika whispered. He nodded. The woman's face was blank, while everything around her was rendered in meticulous detail. I couldn't get her face right. Something was missing. Their eyes met across the canvas. Something shifted, not just desire, but recognition. Why did you come tonight? No words were needed. She stepped into his arms, feeling the world's heaviness slip away. I needed to remember something. His hands cradled her face. I've thought about you every day. Don't. Not tonight. Tonight isn't about what could have been. Are you sure? She met his gaze. I need to remember what it feels like to be alive. There was no hesitation. Their movements were poetic, yet wild. Every touch, every kiss, a surrender. She wasn't just a lover. She was someone stepping into the unknown without fear. Hours later, as dawn filtered through the curtains, Sarika watched shadows play on the ceiling. Arnab slept beside her, intensity present even in stillness. She kissed him gently. I have to go. Stay. We could figure something out. What would we figure out? My father is gone. My mother is barely holding on. My brother is drowning. And you? Are you going to drown with them? She had no answer. The night had been a reprieve, not a solution. Riding home through morning light, she felt different. Lighter, yet heavier. The freedom she had tasted still lingered on her skin like a phantom. The house was exactly as she had left it, silent, suspended in grief. Her mother sat at the kitchen table with vacant eyes. That evening at dinner, Sarika felt like a shadow of herself. Or perhaps, for the first time, she was real. Your father would want you to keep dancing, her mother said softly. The first real words in days. Sarika looked at them both. These people who expected her unchanged, where everything had changed. She thought of Orna, of the night, of freedom she would never untaste. I will, she promised. Sarika had become Abhisarika, the woman who stepped beyond the known and returned transformed. The question that had lingered over the years, did Abhisarika ever regret it, now had an answer. There was no regret Sarika had, only the knowledge that once certain thresholds are crossed, one is forever changed. With that, we come to an end to this episode. Let me know how you like this story. Share your thoughts with me on social media or write to me at madhulikarachauhan@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your stories too. Don't forget to subscribe to Fusion Fiction on YouTube and Spotify. Have fun until we meet again. This is Madhulika Ra Chauhan, and you are listening to Fusion Fiction.